My name is Joe Pashal. I'm the Extension Livestock Specialist based in Corpus Christi. And today we're going to talk a little bit about the importance of antibiotics in animal agriculture for use in livestock. So antibiotics have been around for a fairly long time. Penicillin was first discovered back in the 1930s, but it wasn't used in animal agriculture until the 1950s. Before that time, it was used primarily in human health. We've developed a wide range of different types of antibiotics. Anything that promotes one bacteria at the expense of another is generally considered to be an antibiotic. And in beef cattle, we have antibiotics that actually improve the reduction of methane emission in cattle, improve feed efficiency. We term those antibiotics, but they really don't have any impact in human health. Antibiotics are one of those resources that are very difficult for researchers to create new ones. In fact, we are in our fourth generation of cephalosporins, for example, and essentially they're just small modifications on previous versions. So when we started using antibiotics in livestock, we use it to prevent disease, to treat disease, to control disease, and we also found out because of this biologic property that some bugs will promote the growth of some bugs and reduce the growth of bad bugs, we use them for growth. So along about in the 1990s and early 2000s, a philosophy was developed that we're really not developing a lot of new antibiotics for use in humans or in livestock to prevent or control disease. And so the thought was that perhaps a better antibiotic stewardship should come about both on the human side as well as the livestock side. So take that and sort of fast forward it into the late 20-teens, and the concept that perhaps that maybe some antibiotics that are currently used in livestock to promote growth should not be used to promote growth. We should still continue to use those antibiotics to treat disease, to control disease and prevent disease, but not use them for growth as a form of good antibiotic stewardship. So when the Veterinary Feed Directive came out in 2017, it actually sort of banned the use of 7 antibiotics in feed, except by script from a veterinarian. That was sort of the first official step. I would expect it over the next few years, maybe the next several years, that further steps in this trend will probably restrict the use of antibiotics, other antibiotics, particularly injectable antibiotics, in livestock, under the concept that we probably need to have a veterinary script for those products, because veterinarians are the ones that are really able to diagnose disease and to prescribe the right antibiotic to treat disease. Now, that doesn't mean that producers are misusing antibiotics, not at all. Producers read labels, they follow dose rate, they follow dosage routes, they follow what those antibiotics are used for in terms of specific diseases, and they follow withdrawal times. But the concept is that some of these antibiotics are very useful in treating of human diseases, things like tetracyclines, for example. And so the idea is to perhaps maybe not use as many of those in livestock agriculture, and even on the human side to be more judicious in the application of the antibiotics. One thing that we can do in livestock is to improve our health management practices. So lots of times when an animal gets sick, and they get sick because they haven't been properly immunized for disease. This is true in feed yard cattle. So for example, when animals get sick with a bovine respiratory disease complex, which is sort of like a pneumonia to us, maybe those cattle weren't properly vaccinated. Maybe those animals underwent some stress that activated that disease. And so perhaps there's some things that we can do in terms of better animal management husbandry to prepare cattle for those periods of stress when these diseases might take a toehold. That we'd be able to reduce the use of antibiotics as a result if we had healthier cattle. And there's a bunch of different types of management practices. So vaccination, better nutrition, perhaps even better genetics. So genetics, the geneticists are working on looking at certain genes that may enhance healthfulness in cattle by preventing some of these diseases. So that's probably a little bit further down the pike, but Those are ways that we can look at improving overall antibiotic effectiveness and improving our antibiotic stewardship.